Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. The senators and all in attendance will please stand and be led in prayer by the Honorable Frank M. Ruff, Jr., 15th Senatorial District. Following the prayer, all will please remain standing and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by Michael Adams, Director of Human Resources, Senate Clerk's Office.
As we were instructed in Deuteronomy 6:18, you shall do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, so that it may go well for you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you asking that you lead us through heart, mind, and soul to do that which is right and pleasing to you. We ask that you give us the determination to follow your guidance in our treatment of one another, and that we deal with honesty and integrity. As well, we ask for your guidance as we do our work for the people of Virginia. You know that at times we will fail, but with your help, we will rise up to continue our service to you and for those we have been entrusted to represent. Amen.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, and I hope you're well today, sir.
Good afternoon, Senator. Same to you.
Mr. President, I respectfully move that we suspend the rules of the Senate consistent with the motion we adopted on the first day of the session that allows remote and electronic participation by various senators.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the rules be suspended? All in favor of suspending the rules will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 0.
Ayes 36, noes 0. The rules are suspended. The clerk will call the roll. All those in attendance will please record their vote aye.
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Tuesday, January 26, 2021.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suterline moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 4.
Ayes 35, noes 4. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates. The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
President, I move we waive the reading of the communications from the House of Delegates.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 3.
Ayes 36, noes 3. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come in the morning hour? Do any senators wish to be recognized? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Before I call the calendar, please note on your desk the pink sheet. It's regarding the electronic delivery of floor amendments and substitutes. This process will be consistent with the delivery of amendments and subs in committees. Please make every effort to submit these to the front desk by 11:30 a.m. each day. Senate calendar for Wednesday, January 27, 2021. Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on third reading.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate bills on third reading on the uncontested calendar, pages 1 through 4, that's Senate Bill 1098 through Senate Bill 1414, be placed on their final passage in a block, and any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 1 through 4, Senate Bill 1098 through Senate Bill 1414, be placed upon their final passage in the block with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 1098, Senate Bill 1126, Senate Bill 1172, Senate Bill 1214, Senate Bill 1253, Senate Bill 1277, Senate Bill 1297, Senate Bill 1335, Senate Bill 1408, Senate Bill 1414.
Question is, shall the bills in the block pass? All in favor of passage of the bills will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The bills in the block pass.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on third reading. Senate Bill 1199, a bill relating to conservation easements construction.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass and speak to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I'm not going to expound on any more length on this pro-environment, fiscally conservative bill, except to note I don't think at any time in history have more Republicans voted against a bill or an amendment that struck the word liberally from a legislation. So having said that, I repeat my motion, the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1199? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1199 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 14.
Ayes 25, noes 14. Senate Bill 1199 passes.
Senate Bill 1229, a bill relating to special license plates for supporters of Ducks Unlimited fees.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning, Senator.
Mr. President, I'd move the bill pass in speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the body, this simply creates a revenue sharing license plate for Ducks Unlimited. There is already a plate in Virginia. I think there are about 1,400 holders of that plate. But this would actually allow for Ducks Unlimited to get a small portion of some revenue generated by the plate, and that would come into effect when they next purchase a plate. It does make it a little more expensive, but it is a voluntary thing if they choose to do it. So with that, I'd ask the bill pass.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
To ask the gentleman from staff would yield for a couple of questions.
Will Senator yield?
I yield.
Senator yield, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask the gentleman, when a person has a current Ducks Unlimited license plate, Did they have to pay the additional vanity fee to get that plate?
Senator, is the floor.
Mr. President, I believe that is correct.
Further question?
Yes, if you yield.
Senator Yield?
I yield.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask the gentleman, now if that person had paid for that plate and has had that plate for several years, now it becomes a revenue sharing plate and becomes, I believe, $25 more expensive than it was before. You said it's voluntary, but if they don't pay that extra $25, can they keep their Ducks Unlimited license plate that they paid for?
Senator, is the floor.
Mr. President, no, because it is no longer the non-revenue sharing plate. It will be converted into the revenue sharing plate. And I guess I should add, this is at the request of Ducks Unlimited, and that's why I'm carrying this bill, and Ducks Unlimited members. So I think they're aware of this, and they want this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be bringing this measure before the body.
Thank you, Mr. President. I asked him to yield for just one more question.
Senator Yield? Yield
Yes,
for
I yield.
Senator
Yes, I
Yield, you have the floor.
I'd ask the gentleman, are you a duck hunter? I withdraw the question, thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1229? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1229 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 1.
Ayes 38, noes 1. Senate Bill 1229 passes.
Senate Bill 1263, a bill relating to traffic regulation bicycles.
Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, Mr. President.
Morning, Senator.
I move for passage of Senate Bill 1263 and would like to speak to the measure.
Senator, is the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen of this body, the 1263, SB 1263, generically known as the Bicycle Safety Act, does three things. It requires drivers to change lanes to pass a bicyclist if the lane is too narrow to do so safely and within a 3-foot distance. Number two, it allows bicyclists to ride two abreast at any time. Think of the situation as an example where mom or dad is riding to the left of child who is closer to the edge of the road. And three, it allows bicyclists to stop, to treat a stop sign as a yield sign. Mr. President, in Virginia last year, we had 14 people die while riding a bike in traffic, and the average is 12 to 15 a year. Each year, there are 700 to 850 people who are injured in bicycle-related accidents. These three measures have been adopted by several other states that we went through in committee. There is empirical evidence that these measures will reduce fatalities and injuries. With that explanation, Mr. President, I'd ask that SB 1263 pass.
Thank the senator. For what purpose, Senator from James City County, Senator Norman rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to encourage the body not to adopt this bill.
Senator's
A number of years ago, Mr. President, I had the opportunity to work in concert with a then Democratic governor who I still consider a very good friend. And we created the Capital to Capital Trail, which runs from Richmond to Williamsburg, Virginia, and it's about 52 plus miles of a trail. I happen to now live in immediate proximity to that trail, and at least 4 times a day, coming and going, I have to cross that trail. And each time the trail crosses a primary or secondary road, there is a stop sign on the trail. Mr. President, I cannot tell you how many times I have seen bikers ignore that stop sign in alarmingly close proximity to my vehicle or other vehicles because they don't want their heart rate to go down and don't want to break their stride. It seems so contradictory to me that they don't want to break their stride, but they seem to be unaware of the fact that they may break their leg or their arm. There are also a number of connecting roads between Jamestown Settlement, where there can be a starting place, at least in that venue, for the bike trail, but they are required to drive down a two-lane unmarked road in order to get to the primary trail. And obviously, a number of these bikers have not been paying attention to this bill that the junior senator from Richmond is advancing, because it is not uncommon for them to be riding 2 and 3 abreast right now. Oh, and by the way, I should mention the speed limit on that two-lane undivided highway is 45 miles an hour. I would further say, Mr. President, that many people are not aware in Virginia that bikers are supposed to adhere to the motor vehicle laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia unless there is an explicit carve-out. I appreciate the thoughts of the junior senator from Richmond and where he is coming from, but this is a very, very ill-advised piece of legislation, and it is only going to encourage and validate the breaking of some of these Virginia motor vehicle laws that bikers are supposed to be adhering to. It's only going to encourage it, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
Speak to the bill, sir.
Senator's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I voted, as you can see, no on this in transportation, and a couple of reasons for that is especially I am concerned about the riding 2 abreast on the country lanes, especially in the Commonwealth. The minimum road width required in the Commonwealth is 12 feet. That's per lane. If you have 2 bicyclists riding 2 abreast, and you're required to give a 3-foot clearance when passing, and they don't have to go back into single file, this is going to be pushing a lot of cars across a lot of double yellow lines, and in some cases causing automobile accidents or perhaps hurting the bicyclist as well. This bill, while it sounds like a good idea, I think it's going to lead to an awful lot of difficulty in the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from King George, Senator Stewart, rise?
Mr. President, to speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do feel compelled to speak about this just briefly because this bill, what it adds is probably not as concerning, although it's pretty concerning when they don't have to obey the stop signs like cars do, because invariably a car is going to run over top of a bicycle, and we know that's going to happen. But what this bill also does is it strikes the language on line 47 through 50, which up to, if this bill passes, if there are 2 bicycles riding abreast, 2 beside each other in a lane of travel, they are supposed to move over so that you don't impede traffic. And what this bill is doing is it's striking the language that says these bicyclists now can impede the normal flow of traffic. And that may be okay in the city of Richmond, and it may be okay in Alexandria or Arlington. I don't think it's going to do well in Fairfax County because you've got some main arteries that this is going to cause a problem with. But I can tell you it's going to do really poorly in the rest of the state, where Route 3 is a great example. Route 3 runs, from the other side of Culpeper down through the Northern Neck. And it's funny, when I was a kid, somebody put a sign up on it because it's always been called Historyland Highway. And somebody put a sign up that said Historyland Highway or Colonial Cowpath, because it turns and your sight distances are so bad you can't see, and a lot of people have had a lot of accidents. And now we're going to have bicyclists who don't have to get over anymore. And they're going to back up traffic, and it's going to be very dangerous. And I appreciate what the gentleman's trying to do and give them more freedom, but I'm just very concerned that a lot of people are going to get killed as a result of this.
No other senators wish to be heard. The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to thank my colleagues for who just spoke for bringing up some very valid points. I would tell the senator from James City County that I, too, have a residence along the Cap to Cap Trail and have ridden that trail many, many times, and literally, at this point, hundreds of thousands of people have joined it. I'll say this. When I first got this bill, I looked at it, and I had some of those initial thoughts that my colleagues had. And in fact, the three provisions of the Bicycle Safety Act seem to be counterintuitive. And so I questioned those experts, those other states, Delaware and Idaho, were two examples that I shared in committee, and also the League of American Bicyclists. And I said, is this data accurate? And they not only assured me that it was, but that other states that have passed these measures have reduced the number of accidents and the number of fatalities. I'll tackle 2 points very quickly, and then we're going to, Mr. President, I think that will be enough on this measure. One, riding two abreast. First of all, the riding two abreast apparently makes the group more compact. That makes sense. It takes less time for a car that is overtaking the bicyclist to overtake them and then re-enter the travel lane, because there are two bicyclists side by side as opposed to spread out over 10 feet. That seems to make sense. I mentioned the fact about sometimes families riding together. The senator from James City said, probably correctly, that he sometimes sees 5 people abreast, which this bill doesn't allow, and I would agree is unsafe. But 2 abreast, again, allows mom or dad, when they have a younger child with them, to ride on the outside. And thirdly, with regard to rural roads, according to the studies, one of the primary benefits of cyclists riding abreast is the increased visibility. Now, when I looked at that, again, it appeared counterintuitive, so I did some research, and the increased visibility on rural roads that are windy is that you have greater visibility further up the road of the both lanes when they're 2 are abreast as opposed to spreading out. Again, the Bicycle Safety Act was generated because of empirical evidence that it shows that it saves lives. I again move for its passage. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall Senate Bill 1263 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes no.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 16, noes 22.
Ayes 16, noes 22. Senate Bill 1263 does not pass.
Senate Bill 1329, a bill relating to promises to appear after the issuance of a summons.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move Senate Bill 1329 pass. And speaking of the motion.
Senator's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the City Council of Newport News, at the request of their police department, brought me this bill. And this simply says that after you were issued a traffic ticket, the code today says any person refusing to give such a written promise to appear under the provisions of the section shall be taken immediately by the arresting officer before a magistrate or other issuing officers having jurisdiction. So a lot of the conversations we had over the fall, in the fall, were talking about de-escalation of situations, and so the police would really request this. I circulated this with some of the attorneys in the body, also spoke with the Virginia Chief of Police and talked to Chief DeBoard, who just wanted to make sure that they retained the authority to take physical custody of individuals. So we addressed that in committee and feel like that's still covered. But this seems like an opportunity to make sure we de-escalate situations that are traffic offenses, and seems like a good measure forward. And so with that, Mr. President, I ask that we pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1329? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1329 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. Senate Bill 1329 passes. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman. Was the senator interested in a recess at some point during the calendar?
Yes, sir. I was noodling on that. I apologize for intellectually being slow making the transition.
No worries.
Mr. President, I would respectfully ask that the Senate now stand in recess until 1:10, sir.
Thank the senator. Without objection, the Senate will stand in recess until 1:10 p.m. Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats.
Page 6, uncontested calendar, Senate bills on second reading.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that all the Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar, pages 6 and part of page 7, Senate Bill 1248 through 1457, be advanced to their engrossment in third reading in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto. Any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall all Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar, pages 6 through 7, Senate Bill 1248 through Senate Bill 1457, be engrossed in advance through their third reading in the block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, and that any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 1248, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with amendment.
Senator from Bath, Senator Dees.
Mr. President, I move that the amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 1400, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. Senate Bill 1447, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 1457, reported from the Committee on Local Government with amendments.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Move the committee amendment.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted. Question is, shall the Senate bills be engrossed in advance to their third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills are engrossed in advance to their third reading.
Regular calendar Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 1136, a bill relating to special license plates removal, reported from the Committee on Transportation with amendment, and there is a floor amendment.
Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I waive the reading of the floor amendment.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that the floor amendment be agreed to. And speaking to that,
Senator, is the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This amendment comes from the Department of Motor Vehicles, and what it does is describe the what is lawful for the bumper height of a street rod as being between 9 and 22 inches, and a street rod is hereby defined in the bill as a vehicle from before 1949, and there was only one person in this chamber driving at that time. But it has to be before 1949 or replicating a car from 1949. And in either case, it's being modernized, so it's just a technical amendment. And I urge that it be agreed to.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the floor amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is agreed to. Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 1366, a bill relating to aging services social need, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with a substitute.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, when this bill was presented to the Rehabilitation and Social Services Committee, there was a substitute. We will end up eventually dealing with that substitute. There are also floor amendments to the substitute, and there were a number of people who had some concerns about things. I've addressed them with the floor amendments, but I'm sure most of them haven't seen them yet, haven't gone online to be able to review that. So what I'm going to do today is to ask that this be passed by for the day, and we'll deal with the committee substitute to be followed by the floor amendments tomorrow then.
Thank the senator. Without objection, Senate Bill 1366 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1206, a bill relating to confidentiality of juvenile court records exceptions, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with a substitute, and there are 3 floor amendments.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, this is a little bit similar situation, but I think we can go ahead and handle this one today in terms of second reading. So I will now move the adoption of the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, similar to the previous bill, there are floor amendments. There are 3 floor amendments that I've put in, and I can describe the one substantive one and 2 minor ones. The one substantive one can be described fairly easily, so I think we can go forward with action on that today and to deal with those 3 floor amendments. The major amendment that is there is one to basically have say that the court service unit or the Department of Juvenile Justice.
I'm sorry to stop you mid-thought. Do you mind waiving the reading?
Let me waive the reading of it first, then quickly. And
thank the senator. The question is,
there were a few waivers in the crowd here, so too. So.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the reading of the floor amendments be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendments is waived. Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Yes, what this does is it allows the court service unit of the Department of Juvenile Justice to work with local agencies such as social services and community services boards and to share information. What this amendment does is it limits the information that would be shared to things that the court services unit or the Department of Juvenile Justice has determined are relevant to the treatment services that would be provided by a community services board or other entities, local entities in the human services field, and that only those items that are relevant to that treatment would be shared there. So with that, I will move that these 3 amendments be adopted in a block.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendments are adopted. Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I now move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its 3rd reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its 3rd reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its 3rd reading.
Senate Bill 1393, a bill relating to replacement and conservation of trees during development, reported from the Committee on Local Government with a substitute, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute.
Senator, if you want to get to the floor substitute, we need to reject the committee substitute, if that's your intention.
I am not aware of a floor substitute. Can this bill go by for the day?
It can, without objection. Senate Bill 1393 will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on first reading.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that all Senate bills on first reading on the uncontested and regular calendars, that's pages 9 through 18, Senate Bill 1102 through Senate Bill 1413, that the rules be suspended and the first constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended in the first reading of the titles of Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 9 through 18, Senate Bill 1102 through Senate Bill 1413 be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
I now move, Mr. President, that those bills go by for the day.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on second reading go by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate joint resolutions on third reading.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate joint resolutions on third reading, uncontested calendar, pages 19 through 20, that's SJR 276 through SJR 308, be placed on their final passage in a block. Any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the resolution.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate joint resolutions on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 19 through 20, Senate Joint Resolution 276 through Senate Joint Resolution 308, be placed upon their final passage in the block, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the resolutions.
Senate Joint Resolution 276, Senate Joint Resolution 286, Senate Joint Resolution 292, Senate Joint Resolution 294, Senate Joint Resolution 308.
The question is, shall the resolutions be agreed to in a block? All in favor of agreeing to the resolutions will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions in the block are agreed to.
Regular calendar, Senate Joint Resolution on third reading. Senate Joint Resolution 285, continuing the Joint Subcommittee to study barrier crimes and criminal history records checks report.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that Senate Joint Resolution 285, which extends the subcommittee to study barrier crimes and criminal history records for a year, I move that the resolution pass.
Thank you, Senator. Question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to.
Regular calendar, Senate Resolution on second reading. Senate Resolution 91, expressing the censure of the Senate. The floor substitute has been adopted by the Senate.
Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Bell.
Mr. President, I yield to the senator from James City.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, did we engross in advance the bill to the third reading or not, sir?
No, we did not.
Mr. President, I'm happy to stand as a surrogate for the patron of this, but I would respectfully move that Senate Resolution 91 be engrossed in advance to its third reading, sir.
Question is, shall Senate Resolution 91 be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Resolution 91 is engrossed in advance to its third reading. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now move that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that Senate Resolution 91 that the reading of the title be waived and that it be advanced and placed on its final passage, sir.
Question is, for what purpose is the senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope you're well this morning.
Thank you, Senator. I hope you are as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to call attention to a packet of information that I actually had distributed to each of the senators on the table this morning on their desk. There's a letter followed by a court case here, and it says, "Dear colleagues, I write to you for your consideration in voting no to the substitute of Senate Resolution 90."
Senator, I'm so sorry to interrupt you mid-thought. Yes. I was just going to say it's totally appropriate to speak. I would do so, though, on agreement to the resolution. This motion is just about suspending the rules and waiving the third reading. So if you want to speak to that particular motion, you're free to do that. But if you want to wait, you can do it on the next motion.
I am happy to speak to that motion, Mr. President. I am recommending that we pass this bill by for the day again so that the senators have an opportunity to read my letter. Thank you.
Any objection to passage by for the day?
Object.
There is objection. So the pending motion is for the Senate to suspend the rules and waive the third reading, Senate Resolution 91, and to take it up for immediate consideration. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 1.
Ayes 38, noes 1. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Bell.
Mr. President, I move passage of the bill.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, I've said this before and I'll repeat it again. It brings me no joy to present this resolution before you today. Frankly, it was a difficult decision to use a bill slot in this pandemic to do that. However, I think the need to protect the honor of this body, it's what compelled me to proceed. I want to make it clear, this is not an issue of Democrats versus Republicans. It's not about campaigning or pandering to our bases. For me, this is an issue of right versus wrong. It's an issue of what behavior are elected officials expected to have, and senators serving the Commonwealth are expected to uphold. Censorship of members isn't common. It's not a knee-jerk reaction against someone we don't agree with. It's enacted when the actions of an elected official rise to a level where the integrity and honor of our institution is at risk. I say that again, when the behavior puts the honor of our institution at risk. I've tried my best to avoid being here today, and I've discussed that before. I worked with the senior senator from Chesterfield and encouraged her to apologize, which she told me she would. That fell far short of an apology and condemnation, which would have stopped where we're at today. To me, serving in this body is the greatest honor of my life. And I believe the Senate of Virginia and what it stands for is bigger than any one of us. This body was here before us. God willing, it'll be here long after we are gone. Each of us serving today, we had different journeys to get to the seats we sat in today. Some of them were very long and hard. We knocked on many doors in bad weather. We made countless phone calls to fundraise. And most importantly, we took an extreme amount of time away from our families to serve. It's also important to note that many people overcame very difficult and challenging social and racial barriers to serve. All of us have our reasons for why we answered that call to service. For me, it was the chance to serve in the General Assembly, to try to do good for the people in my district, and to do good by working collaboratively with the people in this body from all parts of the Commonwealth. It was an opportunity to make a difference, to be part of something I believe was very special, something which is known as the Virginia Way. Promoted by former House Speaker George Wythe, the Virginia Way embodies the tradition of civility and integrity in public service. In many ways, it's the legislator's golden rule. It's the antithesis of shouting matches, winner-take-all politics, selfishness. It's built on a foundation of service before self. For over 400 years, members of the General Assembly, regardless of differences in worldview, regardless of passion on any issue, have followed the Virginia Way and have served the public according to one another respect and civility. Our military academies have honor codes. As an officer trainee, I was sworn to uphold an honor code, which said I will not lie, cheat, steal, or tolerate among us anyone who does. While we don't have the same honor code in the Virginia General Assembly, the question before us today, where is our line of behavior drawn? And what will we tolerate? Some may ask where a specific behavior of a senator is defined. In response, aside from the previous description of the Virginia Way, I'll also quote Justice Potter Stewart's famous response to his ruling on how obscenity related to free speech when he wrote that he wouldn't exactly attempt to define what obscenity was, but he said, "I know it when I see it." I'm not going to read the items that are in this resolution, but I ask each of you to read them and then decide if you believe this is the conduct that is becoming a Virginia senator. In closing, I strongly believe serving in the center, as a senator in the Commonwealth of Virginia must be honorable. Members of the General Assembly have been called keepers of the flame, which is a responsibility I hold sacred. As Virginia senators, we must be held accountable for our behavior and our words. And as senators in this body, I believe we must be held to a higher standard. Unfortunately, I believe that numerous comments and behaviors of the senior senator from Chesterfield are unbecoming of a senator, and for the good of the body and to protect the long-standing honors and traditions of this institution, I believe this censure action must be passed. I renew my motion for passage. Thank you, Mr. President.
For what purpose is the senator from James City County, Senator Norman, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of the resolution.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, let me begin more for the Fourth Estate than anyone else, but let me begin by offering a disclaimer. I am only speaking as the senator from James City County in no other position whatsoever. Mr. President, as I listen to the senator's remarks, I must echo, we do not have to be here today. We absolutely, positively do not have to be here today. And I compliment the senator from Loudoun who has demonstrated enormous flexibility, compassion, and extending opportunities to avoid us being here today. He has been very gracious. My comments, Mr. President, are going to be focused on two words: hypocrisy and integrity. And I will say, Mr. President, this is not a First Amendment issue with me. It is about hypocrisy and integrity. Let me share something from an intramural experience that we've had. Just a few days ago, the senior senator from Chesapeake approached part of our leadership team. Pardon me? Oh, Chesterfield. I did it again. Cosgrove, I'm sorry. The senior senator from Chesterfield approached members of our leadership about rejoining the Senate Republican caucus. That would be the Senate Republican caucus where I am very honored to remain at least the titular leader of that caucus. She was told that if she would begin to reestablish trust, the word trust, that the members of the Senate Republican caucus could rely upon, that it would be considered. The very next day, we saw how the word trust was etched on her forehead. She offered what I called an apology, an appalling unapology on it. And in her social media, out of respect for our colleagues in the Senate Republican caucus that she had talked with, she said, I may go ahead and form my own party, the Patriots Party. For those of you on the other side of the aisle who may not be familiar with the Patriots Party, that is the Republican Party that is designed to vote out and provide primary challenges for people that we disagree with. The absolute hypocrisy within almost a 24-hour period, I must say, got my blood pressure up at least 2 points. Integrity. The senator from Loudoun was commenting about the history of this body, and my good friend, the senator from Williamsburg, and others in this body know my passion about the history of the Legislative Assembly in Virginia. I've spent my entire life in the historic Triangle. I had the privilege of chairing the 2007 commemoration. I was very involved in the 2019 commemoration, one aspect of which was honoring the convening of the first Legislative Assembly in this hemisphere. It is very important to me. I've also commented a number of times about what I consider the most iconic senator that I have served with since I have been in the Senate of Virginia, and that's Hunter Booker Andrews. And I have unabashedly said that he, even though he was a Democrat who was the majority leader, even though he was simultaneously the chairman of finance, he was a very dear friend and a mentor to me. In 1992, he took me aside in the corner of the Senate, and he said, Tommy, and he had known me for many years as an attorney, he said, Tommy, I think one day you may be a leader in the Senate, but remember this. When you come to the Senate of Virginia, you only bring one thing with you, and that is your personal integrity and your forthrightness. That your fellow senators must know that they can rely upon what you tell them. And if you forfeit that personal integrity, then you might as well leave, because you will not have credibility with your fellow senators on either side of the aisle, and the institutional community will not trust you whatsoever. So that is a point of integrity that I deal with. And I feel that the personal integrity has been blatantly violated on the floor of the Senate. And this was only a recent occurrence. In the appalling unapology comments that were made by the senior senator from Chesterfield, she commented that she could have filed a resolution of censure against our President pro tem, the senator from Portsmouth. And I heard that unequivocally. She said she did not file it. As I shared with one of our other senators on the Democratic side that I genuinely am very fond of, it's a rare occasion that I ask a question that I don't know the answer to. So I went back and looked about, did she not file a resolution against the senator from Portsmouth? While I personally feel there was no factual basis whatsoever for even making that overture, and obviously it was supported by the Commonwealth attorney in Portsmouth and the judge, Wednesday, January the 20th, 1149, filed LD number 3337, a resolution of censure against the senator from Portsmouth. At 1149, an email was sent to the senior senator from Chesterfield. You are over your limit. It cannot be accepted. You are over your limit of 12 and cannot be accepted. That was at 1149. At 6:08 that same evening, she turned around and filed it again. And to have the unmitigated timidity to stand up on this floor and tell 38 of us that she had not done that is unacceptable to me. All this First Amendment stuff aside, hypocrisy and violation of personal integrity is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. And I just honestly, in a prayerful way, as I reflect on the time, the energy, the emotions that we have spent on this issue, I prayerfully wish that she would use that energy and that time on dealing with her own emotional and mental well-being, and it would not just benefit her, but 38 others of it. Thank you, Mr. President.
For what purpose does the senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
Mr. President, I rise to speak to the resolution.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, first of all, I do want to compliment and thank the senator from Loudoun for the gentlemanly way in which he presented this resolution. It, I think, is a tribute to him and to the body, the manner in which the presentation was made, and for that I say thank you. Last year, a couple of issues arose involving the senior senator from Chesterfield, and I was quoted in a number of publications as saying that senior senator from Chesterfield just doesn't have a level of substance, maturity, or seriousness that Virginians expect in a gubernatorial candidate. I've had a year plus to reflect upon that quote. And since that time, the senior senator from Chesterfield has done nothing to disabuse me or I think others of that assessment. And I think further that the actions of the past year raise questions about the level of substance, maturity, and seriousness that the people of Virginia expect in a state senator. She has, over the course of that time, demonstrated an open and omnidirectional hostility to those of us in this room, her colleagues. And it has happened time and time again. She has also, as the senator from James City County pointed out, shown a disregard on multiple occasions for what I consider to be an obligation of forthrightness and honesty and candor. You know, this doesn't go to maybe the level of fitness, but I'm also offended by this notion that whatever happens, these men and women in uniform, we're going to blame them first, whether it's for a personal confrontation or for actions that took place in the United States Capitol. It's just fundamentally wrong, and it goes to the core of who I am and what I believe, and that I find deeply troubling. As the senator from James City County pointed out, she has long ago exhausted any remaining reservoir of trust and credibility with most of her colleagues, if not all of her colleagues, and I'm not sure that at this point in time she can claim a single member of the General Assembly, not just the Senate, but the House of Delegates and the Senate, as an ally in any regard in either chamber, Republican or Democrat or Independent. And I am deeply concerned about the generally and consistently narcissistic behavior that we have seen over the course of the past 2 years. Now, that being said, I am concerned about the First Amendment issues, and I might be inclined to vote no on this resolution. But I won't. I will not vote no on this resolution. I will not vote for or against the resolution. I might otherwise have voted against it, but my experience has led me to understand how that will be taken. I will not give a vote that might be construed as an affirmation of her annex and her total unfamiliarity with truth and the boorish behavior that is embodied in this resolution. I won't give that satisfaction.
What purpose is Senator from Northern Chesapeake? Senator Spruill, rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaker to the Major.
Senator's the floor.
Mr. President, I like all members of this body know that public attack, criticize of us come with the job. But when you turn those attacks to our families, that is crossing the line. I will vote in favor of SB 51 and will continue to pray for each and every one of you. Thank you.
What purpose is the senator from Bedford, Senator Newman, rise?
Mr. President, out of respect for the gentlelady from Chesterfield, I would yield to her if she would like to speak first.
I was going to save the senator for last if you wanted to go last, or if you'd like to speak now. Okay, Senator, go last. Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I think this is an ugly day for the Senate of Virginia, and I'm going to share with you some reasons why. I don't in hardly any way disagree with my colleague from Rockingham on the unfortunateness of being here. Mr. President, I do believe, and I think you will hopefully find that I'm consistent in saying, I think also that the Senate rules really matter. And they really matter when it comes to the situation that we're in right now. Mr. President, I think that Rule 53B is just so clear it can't be misunderstood, is my opinion. I think Rule 53B indicates that there is to be a charge, in this case, multiple charges. I believe it's a responsibility, and it's clear in the rules, a responsibility of P&E to consider the matter, to conduct hearings on each of those charges, and in all cases return its determination on the charge or charges to the Senate. They're required to report the recommendations on the charge and report the reasons for its resolve. Mr. President, I tend to agree with a lot of the things that are in the resolution. I'm going to go through those, and those are not going to make some happy. But I'm also going to stand here today, I think, for the rules of the Senate. Mr. President, the P&E Committee, because of the substitute, which was germane, but I think is a violation of the rules, I understand did not hold hearings, discuss the berating of the officer. Mr. President, that was a sad day when we heard what took place by one of our own members. Senator from Rockingham and others and I were very clear on that day. Also, the second charge about sending names of colleagues was not considered by the P&E Committee. It should have been, or it should not be here. One that bothers me immensely is the blaming of victims of sexual assault. Mr. President, that's a serious charge. It should have come before the P&E Committee, and it did not. Mr. President, I personally, along with the senator from Rockingham, spoke out clearly when we had the Democrat Party, a statement that the Democrat Party is, quote unquote, racist. I found that unbelievable, and I told the Richmond Times-Dispatch and others that I did. Mr. President, I do believe that that charge should have gone to the P&E Committee, considered the matter, conducted hearings as required by Rule 53B. Mr. President, so here we are. Here we are. Be very clear, I'm embarrassed by the actions that have taken place. I am not here. I am not here. And when I vote against this resolution, I am not here to defend anything that's in here because in many cases, in my opinion, many of it is undefendable. Mr. President, I really hope that the senator from Chesterfield has the opportunity to get the help that's needed. This series of items that are in this list represent to me a bit of a call for help. And I hope that she gets that help. But when you see a bit of the arrogance and the only way I boil it down is the hubris that really comes out and the lack of authenticity as well, it's disturbing. Mr. President, as most of you probably know, I don't support the senator's desire to become governor of Virginia. I don't even know if it should extend to re-election to this body. Not been in favor of readmission to the Republican caucus. And not sure about capability of future office. But Mr. President, I will tell you this, just as I have done over and over on the floor of the Senate, while I do not support any of the actions that are mentioned here, we have a rule. The rule is pretty clear. You bring charges in a resolution, they go to the P&E committee, they're investigated, there's a report, and based on those charges, actions are recommended to this body. Because of a substitute yesterday, which was germane, but I believe in violation of the rules, that process has not taken place. You're going to have some people today that I think are going to vote no to the resolution because they don't support the actions that the senator has made, but they do support the rules of the Senate. Mr. President, I think the right way for this to be handled is for it to go back to P&E, for them to do what they're charged to do in Rule 53, bring back what's required in Rule 53, because this is a solemn moment. The Senate only does this a couple of times every century, and I think it should be done right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. And Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman, I just want to be clear. Is the senator making a motion?
Mr. President, I've asked myself that question, and I am not making that motion.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak to Senate Resolution 91, if I may.
Senator, it's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the body. I always remember my first day in here. Special election, got sworn in on the floor by Madam Clerk, looked up and around the chamber, and at the moment where pride was starting to seep in, I remembered my obligation, but my parents had always taught me to be humble. And my mom was holding the family Bible as Madam Clerk read the oath, and for some stupid reason, I looked down at her and I said, "Hey, Mom, aren't you proud? Your son's a state senator now." And she looked up to me, looked right at me, because she hadn't had enough coffee. It was early in the morning, and she said, "Don't mess it up." She didn't use the word mess. And after a slight gasp, as Madam Clerk remembers, everyone in there laughed, including the governor, lieutenant governor, Dick Saslaw, pardon I used your name, the senior senator from Fairfax. But what I remembered, and I carry that with me every day, the words of my mother in my in my ears not to mess it up. Never mess it up. Understand the awesome responsibility that comes with the power that's granted because the people of your district have decided that you best represent them and their voice and their mission and what they need and how they want things to be accomplished. The importance of that has never left me. And I know every single one of you felt the same way when you come to the body and still feel the same way. You still look up at the ceiling and you think to yourself, man, what a place. You walk into your office at the Pocahontas building or at the GAB and you go, what can I do today? You get a phone call from someone in your district who has a problem with their unemployment insurance or something. And you say, how can I help them? And there are often times when you then go onto social media and they say, you're a moron. In fact, I was called a yammering, pernicious asshat one time. I had to go look up the word pernicious. I was an English major. I had to look it up. But again, we remember that with that awesome responsibility comes along with attention. And sometimes with that awesome responsibility, that humble part, that humility can go outside the door. Because when you're walking down the hallway, good morning, Senator. Good afternoon, Senator. Let me get the door for you, Senator. Senator, can I do this for you, Senator? Senator. In every arena you go into, every door, Senator. And that can cause you to lose that humble position that you should always hold. And I always like to remind myself that my mother did not name me Senator. She's got a couple other names for me, but we're not going to go over what those are right here. Because it's a job and an honor. And so we must do it honor as well. We must do at all times to be loyal to the people that we serve, honest in our dealings, and always forthright in what we're trying to accomplish. That it's not about us, that it's about the people that we serve. And in the same way, when the senior senator from Chesterfield defeated a long-term Republican, friend of all of ours, we were excited. There's so much promise, so much in front of her, so many things to do, a breath of fresh air. Started out really good. Had some real good, big legislative wins. Coal ash helped her area and the Commonwealth of Virginia retire one of the nastiest problems. Was very vocal about it in our caucus. Convinced many of us to come to that side of the argument. Regulatory red tape. Remember that bill? Good stuff. Cut through the red tape regulatory process that our government has that so often keeps citizens from being able to access their government. So much promise. So much hope. But as we all know sometimes that if we do not control ourselves, we are then subject to greed, to ambition, and in creeps that sense of entitlement. To where you demand to be called senator. Where you have the gall to say to someone who is there protecting your life, do you know who I am? The belief that you could degrade someone who every day holds the decorum and the functionality of this Senate most dear, a mother to us all. How you could believe that you're entitled to a parking spot out front. How you can believe that you're entitled to have the Capitol Police, who are here to protect our buildings and each one of us and everyone that works here, drive you around to any destination that you choose. Restaurant, meeting, cocktail party, and to demand to be picked up with you and your staff. Entitlement. To berate people on Facebook that dare have a differing opinion than you, or their girlfriends, and tell them, you better watch what you say It's not appropriate for you to be saying bad things about a sitting state senator. Anybody want to read my Facebook page? They say it all the time. It's their right. It's the First Amendment. And I think all of us get very thick skin after time. We sometimes take it personally, but we very much should have thick skin, something that has not grown on this senator. To lie on the floor of the state of the Senate, to lie on the floor on the Senate of the Senate is beyond reproach. You know, I know everybody at home who watches this and everybody sitting here right now sees us in pitched battles all the time, constantly. What they don't see is when the TV camera goes off and how we work together to try to find consensus. And sometimes we can't. But we don't go out there and call you a name on social media afterwards. We build relationships, friendships, admiration, respect. One of the best parts of this job is working with all of you, no matter whether you are a Republican or a Democrat living in Northern Virginia or the Southwest of Virginia. No matter what your job is, no matter who you are. And that's the most important thing that gets the good stuff done, that allows, like our people that voted for us, to say, you went up there and did what was right for us. Because we were able to tell you what our needs were in a certain region, and you understood. Those relationships were important. And last night, in an act of sympathy, and understand and pray for her family, to ask that this be delayed, and yet, because of a family emergency, and yet to spend so much time on Twitter last night attacking the senator from James City County for no reason, attacking his family. Beyond the pale. Beyond the pale. So, I think I'm used to being called by the senior senator from Chesterfield a weak-kneed Republican. We've all been called weak-kneed Republicans. We've all been called elitists. I don't know how an $18,000 a year job, part-time, that takes up all of your time and actually ekes into your professional life is elitism. But it is to somebody who thinks that they are something more than they are. Go back to those words of being humble. Humility. Something that's missing. Something that's missing here that I think, quite frankly, saddens me. I'm disappointed because so much promise, so much ability has been wasted on ambition and a sense of entitlement. And quite frankly, a lack of accountability, blamelessness. And those that may not sit here every day may not understand what we're saying. But when we say it in earnest because it's something we don't want to say. It's all about the senior senator from Chesterfield. And it has now turned to be not at all about the people that she serves or hopes to serve in the future. Greed and ambition have taken over. It seems, unfortunately, right now, which is a shame in my opinion, that the truth does not fit her well, while she never lets it get in her way of that ambition or that sense of entitlement. Nothing can be more disappointing. Nothing can be more disappointing. And then to hear, maybe I'm the first to hear this, that when she gets this censure, if you vote for censure, she's going to wear it like a badge of honor. The senator will wear the censure like a badge of honor. More like a badge of shame. What is really sad and disappointing is that over the course of time, the senator has created an island for herself, not made of plexiglass, but away from each one of us. I'm sad about that. I'm sad for the senator who made that decision And when I look at this resolution, that's not a badge of honor that I would ever want to have. But when you're not accountable, I guess, anything, the emperor's new clothes becomes a badge of honor. And so I'll close by saying this. I am so very sad about this day. So very sad. I'm so very disappointed in this senator. I never thought we'd have to come to something like this. But I must tell you that upon reflection and a lot of prayer, I can neither support what this resolution seeks to accomplish, but at the same time, I can assure you that I will not reward the senior senator from Chesterfield with a no vote. And as soon as I put this microphone down, Mr. President, I'm walking out of this chamber until we're done. I will not vote no because it's a reward for her bad behavior. And my wife has taught me one thing, is do not reward the children for their bad behavior. I cannot support this resolution, but I understand why you bring it. Thank you, Mr. President.
For what purpose does the senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise to speak to the resolution.
Senators, the floor.
Mr. President, members of the chamber, I just want to stand to tell you that the senator from Chesterfield, senior senator from Chesterfield, and I met a long time ago on a campaign trail. And that person I met a long time ago is not the same person I met today. And I don't think any one of us can ever be the same once you enter politics. But I do know this, Mr. President. Your oath and your character, that's what matters here. And that's what matters when you go home. My dad always said, son, your conduct reveals your character. Let me say that again. Your conduct reveals your character. He also said, be careful who you hang out with. You know, I spoke to this measure earlier, the original draft of this, in the P&E committee, of which the senior senator from Chesterfield had the opportunity to defend herself, and I think chose to do something else rather than show up and defend herself. And I was not there to defend her. I was there to defend our First Amendment right, to which I think is important to all of us who are in public office and the citizens of my district and the great Commonwealth. You've heard my colleagues speak about a pattern of behavior, systematic pattern of behavior. And I was always taught, try to seek out wise counsel when you can. We all do that in here. If you don't know something about a bill or anything else, doesn't matter what party you are or who you are, there are subject matter experts and people that are willing here that are invested in you. And many of us have tried to do that for the senior senator in Chesterfield, to let her see where she was headed. Theodore Roosevelt said, the foundation stone of national life is and ever must be the individual character of the individual citizen. The individual character of the individual citizen. And integrity lies in doing what one speaks and speaking what one does. I've been a personal recipient of the wrath of the senior senator of Chesterfield several times and tried to forgive and forget. And in my testimony in P&E the other day, I finally reserved the right to seek God's wisdom, where he speaks about warn a divisive person once, warn them twice, and then have nothing to do with them. So, Mr. President, that's where this senator from Spotsylvania is going to stand. I'm going to stand on the Word of God and have nothing to do with the senior senator from Chesterfield. Thank you, Mr. President.
For what purpose does the senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel, wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to this motion on censure.
Senator, has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I feel compelled to make an observation about this discussion. And I think the fact that the body is spending so much time to speak to this actually says something really profound about the body and about how seriously we take our responsibility as members of the Senate, how we uphold the dignity of our position, how important it is that we treat one another with respect, and how seriously we take that obligation. I think that despite our party and despite political differences, we have come to work together and to remember that our first obligation is to those that we represent and then to one another. And during my tenure in this body, there has never been a time that outside my interaction with the senator who's the subject of this censure, aside from that senator, there has never been a time that any other member of this body has ever been deceitful, openly dishonest, or has conducted themselves with anything other than the utmost dignity that is becoming of a senator. They have respected the rules. They have treated Madam Clerk with respect, and they've treated me and others with respect. And I think that the fact that we are spending the time on this says something about how seriously we take our obligation to act in a way that is becoming of a senator, of someone who has taken this oath and taken on the responsibility to those that we represent to behave in a way that would make them proud and would not squander the effort that they made to elect that member and then send them to this body where their dignity is undermined, their value is squandered, and their ability to engage with their colleagues is basically destroyed. And so with that, I have to say that I have been incredibly disappointed and embarrassed by someone who once was in our caucus, was in our party, and is no longer in her own party, in her own county. The fact that that association in the party remains is, to me, embarrassing. And so I feel compelled to say on the Senate floor that I find it so distressing that this has continued, and the fact that we as a body are willing to take the time to speak to this while there are obviously critical issues before this body, again, I think speaks to the fact that this is something that we take seriously. And the fact that we're willing to pay so much attention to the lack of respect and to the profanity and to the way that the Capitol Police have been treated, it is worth acknowledging. And it's worth acknowledging in front of one another and in front of those that we serve and in front of all of Virginia to say that that is not behavior that is becoming to a senator and becoming to a member of the legislature, nor is it behavior that any of us would ever sanction. And so I would be remiss if I did not join my colleagues in expressing my views on that, because I am asked time and time and time again, and in advance of this session was asked repeatedly for my views on one of my colleagues. And the fact that it is such a distraction, and such a distraction at a time when we have so much business to do in Virginia, it's important to actually address it. And then I ask that we please move on. But it's important, and I appreciate the senator who has brought this, that he has brought it in a dignified way, that he brought it to the body as he has. And I appreciate my colleagues in my caucus for the willingness to stand up and be honest and authentic and to address what is actually a real issue among our body and among our caucus. And so with that, Mr. President, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the censure.
For what purpose does the senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a lot of things to say, so I hope y'all will bear with me.
And Senator, I know that you do, and I don't want to Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Speaking against the motion.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to say that I do have another senator buzzed in, and I just want to know your preference as to whether or not you want to still go last, or if you want that senator to go last.
Thank you, Mr. President. If that's okay, I'd prefer to go last. Thank
Okay, that's your preference. Thank you, Senator. I just want to give you that option. For what purpose does the junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have a request for the gentleman from Bedford to yield for a question.
Will the senator yield?
Mr. President, I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
First, I thank the gentleman from Bedford for his comments, but could he explain to me what he meant by that he believes that this matter should be sent to privileges and elections, and that was the proper course for this body to pursue, but that he wasn't going to make that motion?
Senator has the floor.
Yeah, Mr. President, I have thought long and hard about this, and I've got to admit to you that this little thing has gone on too long. We should have done it correctly. We should have sent it back. We should have had P&E do an investigation. But honestly, we're now on third reading. Someone could make that motion, and I understand that. But honestly, the Senate of Virginia has spent an enormous amount of time getting to this point, and so I think it's done enough, and that's the reason why I didn't make the motion.
I thank the
Further
Senator.
question?
Mr. President, I have a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Senator has the floor.
During the course of my colleague, the gentleman, the senator from Franklin County, he made mention of remarks that were made on social media last night involving Senator Normand. My question is, when we are to consider whether or not to invoke censure, are we to consider only the four corners of Resolution 91, or are we allowed to consider other factors like the one that the senator from Franklin County brought up regarding the comments that the senior senator from Chesterfield County made about the senator from James City County? Breaking it down, are we limited to the four corners of the censure, or can we go outside of it and consider comments that were made today?
There's inquiries. Senator, inquiry is noted, and we'll be at ease briefly. senators will please take their seats. Returning to Senate Resolution 91 on page 20, the junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we took a break, Mr. President, I made a point of parliamentary inquiry, and I asked specifically if when we vote on censure, we are to consider the four corners of the SR 91, SR 91, or are we allowed to go outside of that? It was at that point that we took a break, and you've caucused. Could you provide me with an answer?
Yes, Senator. And the answer to that question is that the senators will consider only the resolution in the four corners of the document and not any additional arguments or claims that were made during debate or otherwise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, point of parliamentary inquiry.
Senator, has the floor.
With regard and with respect to SR 91, there are 8 specific points in there calling for censure. Will we be casting 8 votes on each of the 8 points, or will there only be 1 vote for censure?
There will only be 1 vote for censure. So you either vote the resolution yay or nay. It will not be on each one of the individual counts or charges contained in the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, speaking to the measure.
Senator, has the floor.
Folks, I have only been in the Senate for a minuscule amount of time compared to some of the veterans that have been in here. But one thing that has been driven into my brain over and over again, particularly from the gentleman from James City County, is that we follow rules and decorum and tradition. And that's very important. Accordingly, years from now, 50 or 60 years from now, people will look at what we're doing now and they will dissect whether or not we got it correct, whether we followed a proper process. So let me tell you how we got here right now. Initially, there was a motion for censure that involved almost entirely items that I considered free speech or for protected speech. And our caucus met, and to say that we had a knockdown, drag-out fight over it wouldn't be too far from the truth. At the end of that day, though, the gentleman from Loudoun and others agreed that we were going to enunciate those, with specificity, those points that the senior senator from Chesterfield did that warranted censure. And he did that. And then in one of what I thought was one of the most statesman-like gestures, the gentleman from Loudoun approached the senior senator from Chesterfield and said the following: if you apologize for the comments, if you denounce certain behavior, I am going to withdraw it. Thereafter, I spoke and I laid out specifically what points the senior senator from Chesterfield needed to apologize for. And it had to be an unconditional apology. I also said that the hurt that was brought to one senator saying that she participated in a riot was extremely hurtful and painful. She had to apologize to that and had to denounce certain groups. And unfortunately, that didn't occur, because this matter would have been over right then. One of my colleagues referred to it as an appalling unapology. It's not too far off the mark. And then we came back here, and we now have this motion before us, SR 91, and I will say right now, there are points in here that warrant censure. But there's others that don't. Item number 4, and I'm not going to comment on those things that occurred before I became into the Senate. Wasn't here, I only heard of those incidents through hearsay and through innuendo. So I don't feel comfortable commenting on them. But number 4, the senior senator from Chesterfield County decried, quote, identity politics. And she made the point that a fellow senator who's now running for governor and is the vice chair of the Legislative Black Caucus is not for all Virginians. Well, let's be very clear. Senator McClellan, who is running for governor and who is the vice chair, is for all Virginians. We all know that. She's a different party, and if elected governor, she will serve all Virginians. And that was wrong and hurtful for the senior senator from Chesterfield County to say, but it was protected. Protected speech. Senior senator from Chesterfield County then said, quote, I don't do COVID. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it's not censorable. It's her speech. She then said that she reiterated baseless claims that the 2020 election was stolen. I think almost everybody in this body would agree that it wasn't stolen, but she is protected in saying that. And that's not censorable. Then we get to number 8. And that was the point that I asked the senator to give an unconditional apology. And that was this. And this is what is censorable. The senator called the group of people that participated in the January 6, 2021 rally patriots. And I asked her to denounce those people who were white supremacists and participated in that January 6th event. I asked her to denounce those individuals that wore jerseys and T-shirts emblazoned with the slogan, 6 million dead Jews is not enough. And I asked her to denounce those people that she called patriots that stormed the Capitol, breached the police lines, broke into the Capitol, went past police officers and engaged in such behavior that it actually resulted in multiple deaths. And when I sat down, I was absolutely convinced that in 30 seconds she would denounce those groups, deliver an unequivocal apology to this senator from Portsmouth, and it didn't happen. And when I studied what is censorable, I am convinced that her failure to apologize and to denounce that is censorable. And if we vote today, I will vote to censor based on that point. My penultimate point, Mr. President. Many people from the opposite party of mine, Republican Party today, have spoken forcefully, and at the end they said, but I'm not going to vote. I don't understand that. SR 91 expresses the censure of the Senate. If you don't vote, you are necessarily voting not to censure. Make no mistake about that. If you don't vote, you are voting not to censure. And I don't think that's appropriate. We are paid that whopping $18,000 a year to make hard decisions and make hard votes. So, with that said, and let me be clear that if we vote today, I will vote for censure. I now ask my last question involving parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President. And that is, based on the comments from my colleague, the senator from Bedford, regarding sending this to P&E, I would ask the President of the Senate, you, Mr. President, whether or not SR 91 is properly before this body.
Thank the senator. With regard to the question and the parliamentary inquiry as to whether or not SR 91 is properly before the Senate, and in light of the arguments previously made by the senator from Bedford, Senator Newman, about the conflict with Senate Rule 53B, which requires that the Privileges and Election Committee consider the matter with regard to censure, that it conducts such hearings as it shall deem necessary, and that in all cases it shall report its determination of the matter together with its recommendations and reasons for its resolve to the Senate. And in light of the Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman's argument that each of the matters contained in the censure resolution must be investigated, that the facts must be established, and that the conclusions and the resolutions of the Privileges and Elections Committee must then be reported out to the Senate as a whole. The chair rules that Senate Resolution 91 is not properly before the body. For what purpose does the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw, rise?
Mr. President, well, certainly no disrespect, I would like to appeal the ruling of the chair.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? And to orient everyone to make sure that we're clear, an aye vote would uphold the ruling that SR 91 is not properly before the Senate. A no vote would reverse the ruling and say that SR 91 is properly before the Senate. So the question is, shall the ruling of the chair be sustained? All in favor of the motion will please record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 8, noes 29.
Ayes 8, noes 29. The ruling of the chair is not sustained. For what purpose does the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw, rise?
I was listening to the remarks of Senator Morrissey. Looking at number 6 of SR 91, she didn't just say the election was stolen. She says, we're at war. The Democratic Party has hijacked our presidential election, and this is the worst part, and committed treason. That's a little different than just simply saying the election was stolen. And I just wanted to bring that to the attention of everybody in here. Just speaking briefly to this.
Senators, the floor.
You know, there have been, I'm just going to take a guess, in the years that I've been here, probably 500 to 1,000 people have come and gone. And we have never, ever had anybody that, to the best of my knowledge, has even come close to creating the problems that we've seen from the senior senator from Chesterfield. No one has even come remotely close. And while we don't lay out exactly what is proper conduct for a senator, as a senator from Loudoun had remarked, it pretty much goes to, I guess, what Potter Stewart said. He couldn't define pornography, but he knew it when he saw it. And I think everybody in here knows that this resolution is here for a reason, and it's certainly, and I can't emphasize that enough, it's plenty reason enough. And the conduct, the acts of the senior senator from Chesterfield definitely merited this. And I would hope, to say that, what she did was reprehensible, this and that, and then not vote. To me, as was pointed out by Senator Morrissey, you're voting against censure. You're just not putting it up on the board. So anyway, I would hope that we would vote to approve Senate Resolution 91, Mr. President.
Do any other senators wish to be heard? Seeing none, for what purpose does the senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak against the measure.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, I would like to begin by saying that if it weren't for double standards, there would be no standards at all in this body. As I look around the room and see the number of people that were actually arrested and charged with crimes this year, and you have the audacity to stand on the floor of this Senate and condemn me. How dare you? Don't you think the timing of today's censure is lost on me? When two other Republican candidates announced that they are running for governor yesterday and today. Don't think that's lost on me. The Capitol Police incident occurred in April of 2019. Mr. President, today is January the 27th, 2021. If this was such an issue to the body, then why didn't you take care of it back in April of 2019? But you didn't. And I also want to point out that not one person in this body bothered to call me and say you were offended by any statement that I made. Not one. Senator Normant, the reason I left, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to say it correctly. The senator from James City County, I apologize. The reason I left the Republican Senate caucus, sir, is because of your improprieties. And you're constantly being in the press with affairs and lying and conflicts of interest and corporate donations and multiple charges. That's why I did not want to sit under your leadership, sir. To introduce bills against the Second Amendment, to introduce tax increases goes against every Republican creed I've ever sworn an oath to. Your behavior, sir, does not fit that of a sitting senator and is unbecoming to this body. To the senator from Portsmouth, who was arrested with 2 felony accounts this year for telling law enforcement to stand back so that your rioters could tear down a statue in which a gentleman had sustained life-threatening injuries. Give me a break. That is a double standard, and you should be on this floor defending me. I was never even charged with a crime. I was never even arrested for a crime. Senator from Spotsylvania on the floor of the Senate after I simply posted a picture of him, his official office, not his personal information, and his bad vote. And I posted it on Facebook, and he comes over to me and he says, "Is that your vote?" I said, he goes, "Did you write that?" That's what he said. He said, "Did you write that?" Now, I didn't personally write that. I had a staff member that wrote it, unbeknownst to me. But I take full responsibility for any comment one of my staffers made. So I said, yes, I take full responsibility for that. He goes over to his seat, and he says, "I'm going to take you out, Chase," right there on the floor of the Senate. Is that becoming of a senator? The senior senator from Richmond participated with Mayor Stoney over the summer in numerous protests and riots that ended in the destruction of our streets. We had people that were killed, law enforcement officers who had bricks thrown at them. What a double standard. You should be standing up of all people. And yes, I meant my comment. We cannot have groups that exclude other races. We must be inclusive if we are going to represent all of Virginia, and I stand by my statement. And I will be a governor that represents all of Virginia, no matter what color your skin is. And I will not be a part of any group that excludes any person based on the color of their skin, because I love all people. And I don't look at the color of someone's skin to determine whether I'm going to allow them in my group or not, and I think that's wrong. I stand by my statement. The amount of hypocritical language that I have heard in this body is beyond the pale. Beyond the pale. The hypocrisy and the lack of accountability in this room. And you allowed it to happen on your watch. And now you want to, now that I'm running for governor and some of you have another candidate you want to support, that's fine. I am the front runner in the race for governor here in Virginia based on the amount of money that I've raised, my social media presence, and my grassroots following. And I'm sorry, y'all don't have to vote for me. That's okay. There are plenty of other candidates today. But Mr. President, I will tell you that some of the comments that I've heard in this room have really offended me. Because not once did one person in this room come to me after the Capitol Police incident or any other issue that you say you had with me, bother to come and call me and tell me. And you know what? I do read my Bible. And it says if your brother is offended by what you do, look at Matthew 18:15-17. And it says, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to tell even the church, let him be to you be as a Gentile and a tax collector. Mr. President, the double standard and the hypocrisy to hold certain senators more accountable than others is egregious. And the junior senator from Richmond, you've had your own issues as well, sir. But I have been very kind to you, and you've even commented on the floor of the Senate how kind I am and gentle whenever every person in this room has assaulted me and badgered me. You have personally made comments to me. You are such a gentle lady.
Mr. President.
No, I am not done.
Mr.
Thank
President,
you.
Rule 45, the discussion has transgressed beyond Senate Resolution 91.
Mr. President, if they're going to have an hour to attack my good name, I get to have some time to refute those, please. Mr. President, I'd like to cite Rule 46 since we're talking about Senate rules, where no senator shall be allowed to be interrupted while speaking.
All right, Senator, I've not recognized any senator yet. If all senators could please take their seats. Senator, before proceeding, I'm going to make this general admonition based on the rules of the Senate and also specifically. It is paramount, critically important that we retain decorum here in the Senate. And I think that's the responsibility of every single member of the Senate, all 40 elected members, the staff, and myself as a presiding officer. This is a very serious and important matter, and understand the passions run high. But at the same time, to preserve the integrity and the dignity and decorum of this body, it is critical that even in the midst of a heated debate, the members address each other with respect, pursuant to the rules. Senators should address their comments to me as Mr. President and not directly at one another. Should avoid all disrespectful language, to include going after one another personally, talking about one another personally, demeaning one another personally or professionally. Confining oneself strictly to the points in debate. And what I hope and what I trust, and there are many members here who have served for a very long time and have seen many debates on the floor and have been a part of many very important moments in the history of this body, is that everyone, and it's myself included as Mr. President, will resolve for the remainder of this discussion, for the remainder of this session, and the remainder of our respective times in this body, to treat one another with respect. I do my best not to interrupt. It's the senator's prerogatives. You're elected by your constituents and you represent them, and represent them to the best of your abilities, just like we all do. But if we're not going to observe that level of decorum, if we're not going to refrain from attacking one another personally or professionally, then I will exercise prerogative in the rules of the Senate to ensure that we are living up to the highest and the best values of this body. And so, with that, we can continue with regard to Senate Resolution 91. And I'd recognize the senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the comments that was made, Mr. President, from the senator from Franklin County was referencing my sense of entitlement. Mr. President, I'm not the same person that I was when I came to the Senate 5 years ago. I'm stronger, I have thicker skin, and I don't let things get to me easily, and that's the only reason I'm even able to stand before you right now without tears in my eyes. I'm a stronger person than I was 5 years ago. And to hear the critical, biting remarks, Mr. President, of my colleagues who've never once come to me privately and said that they were offended or hurt is disappointing. It's sad. I do not feel entitled, Mr. President. I'm confident. When I first came to the Senate of Virginia, I had challenged the senator from Rockingham's best friend, and I understand that they were close friends. But please understand that when I came to the Senate, I had challenged a 27-year incumbent. And I understand that many of you all are very good friends with him, and you prefer probably to have his presence over mine right now. And that's okay. I respect that. But please understand that I do believe that pride comes before a fall, and that verse is stuck in my head every morning when I wake up. I know many of you may disagree with this statement, but I spend a lot of time praying. I spend a lot of time in the Word every morning. And while you may sense a lack of humility, I will assure you that my heart is right with the Lord. And what I am doing, Mr. President, I believe, is standing strongly for the values that I came to this body to represent. Mr. President, I would like to actually address a specific comment that I do want to apologize for and relating to something the junior senator from Richmond said in regards to the defining the patriots who love their country, who stormed the Capitol. And I just want to publicly say this because you asked me to do this in your remarks, and I will specifically say that I denounce the white supremacy. There's no room for them. I denounce them. I denounce those who wore the T-shirts and other attire emblazoned with anti-Semitic messaging and breached the United States Capitol. There is no place for that. And I have condemned the violence. But I will go one step further today, because I know that I don't support any of those groups, and I don't support any groups that support hate. I support groups that support love and unity. So I denounce them. And I condemn anyone that committed violences or broke the law. As a Virginia state senator and candidate for governor, I love the law. I support law and order. And anyone that violates the law should be arrested and handled accordingly, and I support that. Mr. President, the patriots that I'm referencing to were the ones that I was standing with before all the mayhem took place. Veterans, police officers. Whether you agree with their motivation for being there or not, Mr. President, these were peace-loving people who just disagreed with the outcome of the election, and that's really their right to do that. I would like to move on, if I could, Mr. President, to the letter that I had sent out to you all. And I had hoped to give you all some time to read this. And I do want to thank the senator. I'm trying to figure out where he's from here. the patron of the bill, for allowing me to have a little bit of time, family time, and my mother-in-law is doing very well. I haven't actually been able to talk to her because she's been recovering and not conscious, but thank you for that. I do want to say thank you. I'm sorry I hurt a lot of your feelings in this room, and I hope that after today's discussion that we can individually talk through and work through some of our differences. That is my heart's desire. To correct a statement by the senator from James City County, I was not asking to immediately come back into the Senate caucus. I'm more concerned about relationships than I am individual relationship than about groups. If you would just humor me for a moment, Mr. President, I would like to read this because I want to make sure I don't get this wrong. The charging document that I have provided before you charges 8 specific incidents as to each incident that involves the First Amendment. Mr. President, I've not been charged with any crimes nor sued in any court of law for any of the words cited and interpreted by some as disorderly behavior. While there is no legal definition of disorderly behavior, a summary of conduct involving censure of other legislatures throughout the country has been tabulated. None of the sanctioned conduct in any legislative body has ever been related to speech, actions of a legislator. Almost all of the censures reported involved dishonest or unethical behavior, mostly in campaign finance issues. Further, the only censure of the Virginia General Assembly was in 1987 when Senator Babeles, following criminal charges of conflict of interest. Criminal. While he was acquitted of the criminal charges, this body still censured Senator Babeles for violation of Senate rules, notably even in such an extreme situation of clear conflict of interest. The Senate did not demote the seniority, nor did he lose his chairmanship, as being requested in this censure. Mr. President, the United States Supreme Court has long stressed the importance of allowing elected officials to speak on matters of public concern. Elected officials play a role in our society that is imperative that they be allowed to freely express themselves regarding matters of current public importance. And Mr. President, there is no doubt that formal reprimands of elected officials are a violation of federal law, specifically 42 U.S.C. 1983, if the reprimands are for conduct specifically protected under the First Amendment. Every word of the complaining conduct of the proposed censure is politically protected free speech. And while my words and my actions may be offensive or even repugnant to some in this body, which I really don't want to be, by the way, I am accountable to my constituents who re-elected me to my position even after conduct contained in count 1 of the censure. They re-elected me with 10 percentage points, Mr. President. Speech that some do not approve of is no grounds for censure. Mr. President, while the Senate has the authority to discipline its members for disorderly behavior, I more importantly am protected by the First Amendment related to constitutionally protected free speech. Disorderly behavior today or ever in the history of any censure in the United States has been defined in such a way as this let me repeat that. Disorderly behavior today or ever in the history of any censure in the United States has been defined in such a way as this body is contemplating. While members of this body have legislative immunity, the body itself does not. Mr. President, I really don't want to do this, but if the Senate chooses to humiliate me, to irreparably damage my reputation as they've continued to do over and over, by issuing a censure for the conduct charged in the Senate substitute, I will not be without remedy to clear my name. Mr. President, I am praying for wisdom of this body to end this matter collectively and definitively by voting no to SR 91. The nation needs to heal, and we have much better things to do than talk about me in this body. We do not need to have a public fight in a court of law. Don't want that. And hope all my colleagues agree to not compel me to escalate this matter in that way. Thank you, Mr. President.
The question is, shall Senate Resolution 91 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
The clerk will close the roll.
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Ayes 23, noes 9.
24.
I'm sorry. Ayes 24, noes 9.
Ayes 24, noes 9. Senate Resolution 91 is agreed to. The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I'd inquire the clerk, does that complete the calendar?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, is there any other business to come before the Senate? Do any senators wish to be recognized? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Wednesday, January 27th, the Committee on General Laws and Technology will meet 1/2 hour after adjournment, East Committee Room. The Committee on the Judiciary will meet 1/2 hour after adjournment in the West Committee Room. The Finance and Appropriations Subcommittee on Transportation has been canceled. Thursday, January 28th, the Committee on Education and Health will meet at 8 a.m. West Committee Room. The Judiciary Subcommittee on Expungement will meet at 8 a.m. East Committee Room. Senators Deeds, Edwards, McDougall, Stanley, Servell, McClellan, and Morrissey. The Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources Subcommittee on Menhaden will meet at 10 a.m. in the Senate chamber here in the Science Museum. Senators Mason, Lewis, Stewart, and McClellan. This is a schedule change. Democratic Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. Democratic Caucus Room. The Republican Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in the Republican Caucus Room.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Seeing none, I call on the senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.